What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Dr. Wondy. This is a special segment where we talk about you and your problems. And we all know, we all got a lot of problems. By the way, I'm not a real doctor. If you've been enjoying these segments, click on the subscribe button and don't forget to hit the little bell for notifications for the next video. Enjoy!
Paging Dr. Wondy.
My 16 male mother is extremely rash and compulsive. She purposely does things to emotionally and verbally hurt me. How do I go out about living my teenage life without having too much stress? For context, I'm a 4.0 GPA unweighted student who's at the top of their class. It becomes hard to deal with her as stress from virtual learning begins to form. How do you handle stress? My 16-year-old male mother. Okay, parent stress. I'll tell you a little bit about how to handle parent stress. This is my experience with parent stress. My parents were not very overbearing growing up. My parents, they did nag a lot, but I feel like from all the stories I've read, my parents are like a 2 on a scale of like the 10s that I've read. They are not quite as overbearing as some stories that I've been told through Dr. Wondy. So I feel like when you're a child or when you're not an adult yet, it sounds bad, but yes, when you're a teenager, when you're, you know, a young adult, not an adult, but just a young teenager, your best bet is to just do whatever the hell your parents want you to do. And whenever they say shit, just listen, but have it go in one ear and out the other as best as you can. Pretty much you kind of have to act like you're not really there but not really there. Because honestly, when you aren't independent, there's no point in fighting your parents. There really isn't. You could try, but there's like no point. Especially if your parents are not reasonable people. Like, I'm talking about unreasonable parents, right? I'm not talking about really great parents that like to talk shit out and like they'll listen to you and all that. I'm talking about the parents that will not listen to you. The parents that don't give a shit about your opinion and they just want you to do what they want. So the answer is do what the hell they want. Because if you fight them, you're gonna suffer more consequences from fighting them. Like, what's the point? You're not gonna really get what you want. You'll just get a really stressful home environment because your parents are mad at you because you won't do what they want. So if you just do what they want, then, you know, you won't have a problem. Am I right? So what you do, right? This is the plan. This is the long con, right? So you're a very obedient child and you do whatever the hell your parents want, right? And you go into college. You see, when you go to college, you can try to choose to go abroad, maybe, right? If being abroad is an option, you can get the fuck away from your parents, right? Tiff, welcome back. If it's not, I'm sorry to say, but you gotta stick it out for another 4 years. Do your undergrad, find a job, and move the hell out. Then you never need to see your parents ever again. That is not the relationship I have with my parents. But if that is what you need to do, that's what you gotta do, you know? Hey Maze, welcome back. Because honestly, I've just heard so many stories from like kids not having a good relationship with their parents. And as much as I care a lot about my parents, and I feel like everybody should have a good relationship with their parents because it's actually very important. But I don't know you and I don't know your parents. Maybe they are just unsalvageable. Maybe they really just are not okay. Or maybe they are okay and your raging hormones perceive them as not okay. Either way, I don't know. But let me just tell you that fighting them is not going to help you. So you might as well stick it out until college or university or until you're independent. my relationship got way better with my parents when I moved out. I think my relationship with my parents have always been good, but I learned to appreciate them a lot more once I moved out. Because I learned that I was being treated like a princess. And I didn't realize I was being treated like a princess until I wasn't a princess anymore. You know? Because like when I lived with my parents, I didn't need to cook. I didn't need to clean. I didn't need to do the dishes. I didn't need to do the laundry. I just ate food and existed in my parents' home. You know? I never cleaned ever. I never did anything. But now that I've moved out, I clean every day. I do all my laundry, do everything. How old were you when you moved out? So I moved out once before when I was 21. And then I moved back in after a very abusive and sad relationship with my ex. And then I moved out again a couple years ago. I came in at sad abusive relationship. I was being asked when I moved out. So I moved out once and it wasn't successful before. And I learned that it was really tough. I think at the age of 21, I really learned a valuable lesson about living on my own. It was because my parents didn't pay for anything, right? Like when I moved out on my own, I was independent. But it was a really tough situation for me because I wasn't earning very much. So I was literally living paycheck to paycheck. Like it was like I had like maybe $100 or $200 left at the end of every month after paying rent and bills and food and stuff. The living paycheck to paycheck feels like shit. Not gonna lie, it feels like shit. It's livable, it's doable, but it feels like crap. So I moved back in with my parents and saved up a shit ton of money until I was finally ready to buy my own place, which is very different from renting. And then feeling a lot better because I realized that like I saved up a lot of money over the years by living with my parents, and that's why I was able to do this. So that's that. Oh, and the last question here was, how do you handle stress? How much is a shit ton before you left? That's very personal information. I don't want to tell you. But I can tell you it's a good chunk of a down payment of a place. Show T4 form. Stress handling. Honestly, I think when you're younger, exercising is the best way to handle stress. Like go for a jog, a run. Or venting to a friend. Doing one of your hobbies. Yeah, probably at least $5. I handle stress by crying. Me too! Speaking of crying, my tears are coming out. Oh god. That's what happens when you get old. You just start crying. Yeah, I'm a crybaby. I cry a lot. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. I cry when I'm mad. I cry when I'm frustrated. The wee boo blue. The wee blue. Welcome. Tier 1 sub. Thank you. Singing my sadness away? I sing sometimes, but when I'm really stressed out, I just roll into a ball in my bed and then I cry. I'm no different from you guys. I am just a human. So, you know, when I get stressed out, I literally roll up into a ball and then I cry. And then I sleep from being too exhausted from crying. And then after I finish crying, I eat food and then I watch Korean dramas and then cry from my Korean dramas and then go back to bed and rinse and repeat. That's what happens to me. I'll tell you though, stress is a real killer. Stress is like the #1 killer of humans, I swear. It like stress is more dangerous than like cancer and smoking and all that stuff. Stress can literally kill you. So try your best to manage your stress levels. Do whatever you need to manage. Yeah, even Corona. Cause like, oh man. So remember how I told you when I was 21, I moved out with that one boyfriend? I lived with him for like half a year, right? And in that half a year, I was so stressed to the point where at one point in time, I woke up every morning with my body sore. Like my entire body ached. And there was no reason why. Like I had no, like at the time I didn't understand, right? I was like, why does my body hurt so much? Like what's going on? Like my head hurts, my joints hurt, everything just is so sore and it's so painful, right? I woke up every morning feeling like that. And then after the breakup and then moving back out with my parents, my body ache all of a sudden disappeared. So it was like, I realized that the situation I was in was so stressful that my body was physically in pain. Isn't that crazy? I can't believe how crazy it is that like stress can cause so many things. But like one of them was like my whole body being sore. Do you think stress and depression can cause panic, anxiety attacks while trying to fall asleep? Yeah, I think so. I think so. Because when you're stressing and sad, you think a lot about stuff, right? So when you think about that stuff, it can make you panic or feel anxious. I think for me, stress just makes me sad or like, it's kind of, I mean, it's just crippling, right? It makes you not want to do much, which is it's like a vicious cycle, right? So it's like, for example, let's say my taxes are stressing me out. Doing my taxes stresses me out. So I go, my body shuts down, goes, I'm not going to do the taxes. But in reality, when you actually go and tackle it and do it and finish it, you won't feel stressed anymore because it's gone. But because the stress is there, you don't even want to touch it. You don't even want to look at it. You don't even want to tackle it. So it's like you go around and around and around, right? It's kind of dumb because it stops you from doing what you need to do, but you're too stressed to do it. So it's like, what the fuck? It's like, you just gotta take some small steps, you know what I mean? It's like when things are a block for you, you just gotta be like, you just gotta take it one step at a time, you know? You get a little bit, just do a little bit at a time, you know? Just gotta... Dr. Wondy is where it gets real. It's usually a fear of a fear that cripples people. Yeah. It's the same thing as like, you know, when you're in high school, or even some people in like middle school, they're like, oh my God, I'm worried about high school. And when you're in high school, you're like, oh my God, I don't know what I want to do in college. And then once you're in college, it's like, oh my God, what do I do after I graduate? And it's like a perpetual, like, what do I do? How do I live my life? It's like, what do I do after this? What do I do after that? Lemur meme.